Yo, this 2010 Kia Soul's back. I just did a timing belt and ball joints to it, and now he wants all the brakes done. Now he bought all new pads and rotors for this and told me to just put them in. He says he just wants it done. So I'm going to do another amazing brake job video with a brake flush. 21 millimeter on the tires. Now I'm going to go run around all four corners and pull these calipers in. Since I'm going to do a brake flush, I want to get as much brake fluid out of here as I possibly can. So I'm going to pop this, take that cap off. There's a 10 millimeter here. I want to try to get this bleeder to crack open without breaking the thing. I'm going to put a little hose on here just so I don't make that much of a mess. And what I'm doing here is I'm just putting a hose on it with a drain pan. I'm going to crack this bleeder open again. Just like a half a turn, that's good enough. And I'm going to get in here with a screwdriver, and I'm going to put this in between the hole and the caliper and like the rotor, and just pull on it real slow. And it's going to push this brake fluid out. I'm just finding a place to grab so I can get this thing out of here. That looks like as far as it'll go. These caliper slides are stuck. I'm going to have to do some slide repair work on this thing. I'm going to pound it out as much as I can now, because I want to get back behind the caliper piston, and I want to pull on the piston now, and I want to do it in such a way that it doesn't damage the dust boot. See, that's the caliper piston right there. That little half moon spot you can see with the camera, and I'm just going to get in here and pull on that until it's all the way in. That little rubber dust boot, I want to make sure I don't touch that because, well, I don't want to tear it. So I just got to keep an eye on that. I got to pull it all the way in as far as it'll go now. So now I can close this line. Pretty filthy brake fluid, is probably original. I'm just going to do that to all four corners. The level of this brake fluid shouldn't go down much at all, but I'm going to keep an eye on that while I do it too. Make sure it doesn't get too low. I'm going to do the same with the rear. There was no dust cap on this, so it's all rusted. A lot of times when they do that, it'll open thankfully without breaking. Sometimes the hole gets plugged up. There's nothing coming out of there. So I probably got to clean this bleeder screw. I'm going to take this out. Yeah, now it's dribbling out. I'm going to put a plug in it. Keep it from leaking for right now. I'm going to get a little drill bit action after this thing. I can look in there and see my drill bit now, so I know it's through. I'm going to try this again. I just got to make sure that this seat is clean, and it is. Same thing here. Pull this sucker in. I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side. I have one of them fancy Harbor Freight brake bleeders. Works off of air pressure, vacuum. You can use a turkey baster or something if you want to. I'm going to try to suck as much of this fluid out as I can out of this reservoir. Need a smaller hose. Then I have a big 32-ounce bottle of brake fluid. I'm just going to stick in this reservoir hole. Oh, nice mess. Oh, what do I do? And I think I can just hold this up here with this bungee cord, I hope. Well, just so long as it doesn't pop out, it won't leak. I don't know if there's a scientific name for it. It's probably like hydrolocked or something. I don't know. So that's my fancy unit rig thing. And that big mess I made, I'll just wash off with water when I'm done with this job. Just can't get it on paint. You get it on paint, it'll eat it right up. So if you ever get any brake fluid on your paint, you want to get it off and wash it off with water right away. Brake fluid's hygroscopic, so it absorbs moisture and it washes off with water real easy. Now I opened up these lines on the rear again. and I'm just letting it gravity bleed. It's just doing it all on its own. Both sides I'm doing it at the same time on the rear. And I'm just gonna let that go while I do my front brakes until I get nice clear fluid out of it. These calipers are 14 millimeter. Sometimes these pins spin when you try to take them off and put them on, and if they do, you gotta put a 17 millimeter or a vice grip on this inside pin. Now you're supposed to support this caliper so it doesn't hang on the brake line. I'm just gonna flop it up here. That's good enough for me. 17 millimeter on the caliper support brackets. Yeah, these front brakes are definitely due. They're down to almost nothing. I got some Phillips screws in here, and I got an impact driver. You smash this with a hammer in it, and I turn it to the left, and I smash it with a hammer, and it'll drive these loose. These are like a number 3 Phillips. Oh, those are really rusted in. Yeah, that one broke. And I'll just give this some good raps with a hammer to get this off. Nice. I want to make sure this surface is nice and flat and it has no big chunks of rust scale on it. Like I can feel some right there. Some people sand these. I use a carbide scraper. Sometimes I use an air nibbler. I think it's a waste of sandpaper. That's why I don't do it. I got a little nub sticking out of there, but I can leave that just so long as I put the rotor in the hole, right? I want to do the same thing with my caliper. I want a nice flat surface on the piston and on the other side of the caliper, because if it's not flat, it can tend to make a little bit of noise sometimes, because the pad might be just slightly riding on the rotor, and it also messes with your pedal feel. So if there's any big chunks of scale on here, I might get a little bit of a mushy pedal. I do the same thing with this side too. I'm actually going to hit this with a file. That way I know it's clean. There, it's nice and flat. Well, on these slides, this one's stuck. This one moves really nice, so I got to get that out. If they're rusted really bad and they don't budge at all, a lot of times I got to use a torch, like map gas, and just heat it up right here without getting a boot. And I just put a 17 millimeter wrench on here, and I just apply a little bit of pressure until this thing turns and comes out. Some people at that point just replace the dang caliper. This one will come out though. It's stuck, but it's not real bad. And the big reason why is because this is a sealing surface right here, and it's all rusted up, so it allows water to get inside of here. So I need to clean all of this up. And I can take this out too, and it might be all rusty in here and in this hole. See, this one here is still nice and clean, so no water got in it. That's better. I'm getting nice clean fluid coming out of these now, so I can close these lines off. The rears are done. I got a brush. Sometimes I use a drill. I'm just going to stick this brush in here and with some brake cleaner. That should be pretty good enough. Just going to get in here with a hook tool and try to pick out this rust in here best as I can. Pretty fairly good enough. I have some silicone paste, dielectric grease. It's all the same stuff. Stick some in these holes. I want to put some of this silicone paste in these sealing surfaces too. So when I go put the rubber boots back in, they help seal it. Put a little silicone paste on the That's lubed really nice. Now I can put these boots back on. Same thing here. I want to put some grease on this sealing surface. If it pops out on you, it's because there's too much air in it. And I can push this in and burp this. I just squeeze Give it a squeeze. Push all the air and the excess grease out of it. Then it stays in. Now I can deal with these pads. They're not stuck, amazingly enough. If they're stuck, it's because there's going to be too much rust on these contact surfaces, usually. I'm going to hit these with a file. I have new abutment clips, and I want to make sure these pads slide really nice when I put them on. If they don't, I usually got to grind a little bit out of the pad or something. Yeah, these are really sticky. They're not sliding nice at all. Yeah, they don't slide. And I got to grind out a little bit of this pad so this pad will slide really nice. I should be able to see spots. Like right there, there's a spot where it's hitting. I'm just going to sand this off. I'm going to do both sides. Okay, this side was kind of goofy, but I got it. I actually had to grind just a little bit out of this bottom corner too, because it's hitting on this abutment clip, and this abutment clip is jammed all the way up against the caliper support bracket. I just want to make sure the other side feels good too. This side I don't have to do anything to. It moves really nice. You don't want it too loose either, because if it's too loose, it's going to flop around in here and the pads will rattle and make noise. All that feels nice. I can put that in now. There's a little bit of Cosmoline type stuff on here. I'm just going to hose it down with some glass cleaner. You can use brake cleaner if you want. Aerosol glass cleaner, I like it. It doesn't stink. I tried Windex before in the squirt bottle, and that was a dismal failure. That stuff is horrible for trying to use on this stuff. But yeah, regular aerosol glass cleaner seems to get the stuff right off. You just want to make sure there's no rag material left on here. Get all the fuzz off of it. If there's any fuzz on here at all, it's going to cause your brakes to make noise. That should be good and feels clean. I don't feel any fuzz on it. I only have one good screw hole anymore. Put on my support bracket. These get torqued to 60 foot-pounds. I want to put some disc brake quiet on the caliper piston and the contact surfaces. Probably a little package of this stuff in your brake box. Put some here. Make sure you don't twist up the brake hose. Put the thing on. I have a little 17mm wrench to hold on to this. These get torqued to 20 foot-pounds. I just want to make sure these calipers slide really nice, and they do. I want to make sure the pads in here slide too, and they move around really nice. So that's a really good brake job. Now you can just do the same to the other side, and while I'm working on the other side, I'm going to crack this bleeder open, and I'm going to bleed this side out, and the front should go really quick. I'm going to turn this all the way to the right so I can get at the caliper on the other side real easy. I have all four corners bled nice and clean. I'm going to take my bungee cord off. This actually wasn't sprung very much either. It was about the right length to just kind of hold it in there without a lot of tension. And I'm just going to be quick about this. And after I load all the calipers, I'll check the level. But since I unloaded all the calipers and I put brand new pads and rotors in here, it's over full right now, but it should be on the line when I get done. So I'll just put this cap on and check it later. Now for the rears, it's kind of the same deal as the front. Got some 14mm here. That just comes right off. I can let this hang. It weighs about absolutely nothing. These caliper support brackets are 14mm as well. These pads actually look pretty good, but look, the inboard one is stuck, so somebody probably did a really shoddy job. It's jammed in there, and if you can see, it's kind of crooked in there. It's going to cause uneven brake wear because it's stuck. These rotors must have been replaced once upon a time because the screws in here are gone, but there is a little rubber plug I got to take out. This is an adjuster for the emergency brakes. There's an adjuster in this hole if you can find it. And if it's stuck really bad, you're going to have to find it and loosen it up a little bit. Now if you have a manual car, you're going to want to inspect all of this crap. This is your emergency brake stuff and it's all junk. There's no pads left on it or anything. But this guy's got an automatic, so he doesn't care. There's no backing plate left either. And nobody cares. Just so long as the springs don't break or anything, it's not going to go anywhere. It's like rusted in so bad nothing moves, so I'm just not even gonna care about that because he's not gonna care about it. I can't make him pay for it. If you got a manual though, all new. And yeah, with this stuff, you know, just do the same to the rear as you did to the front. I tried to pound this thing out and this brake pad got smoked so bad it just separated from the backing plate. So that thing was pretty much ready to fly right off sooner or later. It stuck really good. This is your atypical pad slap. I mean, look at this abutment clip. Somebody just crammed these pads right in there. It's stupid. Now the reason why them abutment clips and the brake pads were stuck so bad is because whatever amateur with the Midas touch that did this didn't bust all of this rust off of here. They just slapped the pads on it. I mean, it's really thick. If I just take a chipping hammer, look at how thick this is. I gotta clean all of that off and get it nice and clean so these brake pads slide again. That slides really nice. Like new. Like it's supposed to. These caliper bolts are two different lengths. Looks like the long one goes on the top. You can tell if you got it right if you start them. And they're both the same length. These caliper support bracket bolts get tightened to 40 foot-pounds. And these bolts get tightened to 20 foot-pounds. Put the little rubber plug in. Do the same to the other side. I had to do some sanding on this rear pad too to get it to fit right. Just a little bit. The lug nuts get torqued to 80 foot-pounds. Now I just need to pump up the pedal on the thing until I get a nice solid pedal. Make sure my bleeder screws don't leak. Check the fluid, make sure that the reservoir level is okay. Then I gotta drive down the road and do 30 miles an hour and just tap on the brakes really lightly and come to a really slow stop. Do that a couple of times. Go on the freeway, hit the brakes a couple of times on the freeway to bed in the brake pads properly, and then it will be a brake job. And that's it. Okay, bye.